Hello, everyone. This is Adam Meister, the Bitcoin Meister, the Disrupt Meister. Welcome to the One Bitcoin Show. Today is October 25th, 2017. Strong hand, long-term thinking, buy and hold. All right, everyone. This is a very special One Bitcoin Show. Our one topic is Brian Kelly of BK Capital. You know him as a CNBC contributor. All of his links are below. I always put all the important links below, and believe me, there's some important ones down there today. Brian, welcome to the show. Oh, he clicked off there. Brian, I see your face. I do not hear you. We're having some technical difficulties. Brian and I were just talking. Wow. I don't know what happened there. Let me see something, everyone. This is the joy of live YouTube. You never know what's going to happen. Brian, are you there?
I'm here now. There we go.
Awesome, dude.
All right.
I am pumped to have you here.
I'm pumped to be here, man. Love the energy.
Yes, you disappeared for a second there, but now you're back. Welcome. Did you hear my introduction and everything? I just want to see when you clicked off or anything.
I heard most of the introduction. You were on the links and whatnot, so awesome. I heard most of it.
Well, you are well known for your CNBC contributions. You just wrote a great Forbes article, which I also linked to below. Everyone should check it out. In the article, you said Bitcoin, the currency, is the incentive for all of us to become John Rockefeller. Bitcoin creates the incentive for people to run a new financial system that's outside of the traditional one. Those are some bold words. So you're clearly a big fan of Bitcoin, but the article also says you weren't always a big fan. So tell us how you got started in all of this, and tell us what you originally thought of Bitcoin and the whole metamorphosis.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, my background is as a currency trader. I've run a global macro fund for a while now, and it really had a focus on currency. So back in, I think it was 2012 or so, I kind of stumbled across Bitcoin. I think I read about it in the Financial Times. And like everybody else in the world at that time, except for a few really smart people, I thought it was a total scam. I didn't think it would work. I had all the old notions of what a currency needs to be. You know, it needs to be backed by a government. It needs to have an army defending it. It has to be issued by a government. All those things were in my head because I'd spent 20 years in the traditional financial markets, or 25 years in the traditional financial markets. So that's what I was led to believe, and that's what I believed. So I dismissed it for about a year. And then the price started rising. And I kind of took a look at it again, and I still thought it was a bubble, still thought it wouldn't work. But
now, where were we in time? What year was this about?
So 2012 is when I first stumbled on it, and then took another look, but basically dismissed it until 2013. And in 2013 is when I bought my first Bitcoin. Not because I believed it and found the Bitcoin religion, if you will, but because I thought it was a huge bubble and I wanted to be part of it. And so I rode that bubble all the way up to 12 or 1300, and then rode it all the way down to 250. And I made every mistake that I tell every trader not to make. I turned a trade into an investment. I didn't do my research. I did everything wrong. And then once I had a losing position, I thought, okay, you know what? I should probably look into what I own here. And again, I would not recommend this for anybody in your audience. This was a huge mistake. That being said, once I started looking into Bitcoin and actually what it was, and kind of was able to break through those old ideas that I had, it hit me like a brick that, man, this is a revolutionary technology. It's going to change everything I do. It's going to change everything I know about the financial markets, and therefore I need to know everything about it. So that turned into me writing a book in 2014 called The Bitcoin Big Bang. And then since then, I have been investing in the space in both the currencies and doing some angel investments in equities.
All right. So you come from the traditional stock background, though. Do you have any? What were your feelings toward gold beforehand? Because we have a lot of people that come from the gold area.
Yeah, I mean, for me, gold was a trading vehicle. You know, it was a way to trade against the dollar. It was a way to hedge against inflation. It was just one other thing on my palette that I could use for my portfolio. I didn't really have, well, I'm not a gold bug. I never really thought you need to have X amount of allocation to gold. In fact, you know, I think anybody who's buying the gold ETFs with the intention of ever taking delivery are out of their mind, because I think the day that you're going to actually want and need gold, if you show up at the ETF store with your piece of paper that says, hey, I own some gold, I think there's very little chance that you're going to get it.
So you didn't have an ego or anything. You're like, you didn't feel like, oh, this Bitcoin thing's going to make me a thing of the past because I was a stock guy. You moved on. You adapted. What do you think about the gold guys that don't adapt? I mean, there are a lot of guys that have changed now. Do you see a lot of people changing, or do you see a lot of stubborn people out there?
You see both. You see both. And, you know, I think I actually kind of, I feel fortunate about where I am in my career, because during the 90s, when I started, early 90s, you know, I traded through the whole internet boom. But I was too dumb and young and poor to really take a lot of advantage of it. I mean, it was fine, but I certainly, you know, did not become one of the Silicon Valley superstars. And so I actually, you know, look back and feel fairly fortunate I went through that, because when I saw Bitcoin, I said, well, this could be the same type of thing, and I'm not going to miss this once in a generation opportunity. Over the last years, you know, I have found that, you know, when Bitcoin was at 250, people were thinking I was crazy. They thought I was nuts. Bitcoin at 6,000, everybody's my best friend. So people are changing price. It's amazing what price will do. But there is a real cultural generational divide. And I kind of sit between the two generations, which are the baby boomers who love gold, and they've known that for their whole life, and they're going to hold on to their gold. And the millennial generation, which doesn't really believe in gold, thinks it's just a shiny rock, and would prefer to be in the crypto space. And to them, math is what they trust in. So for me, I'm fortunate enough to see kind of both sides, and I've shifted and said, you know what, if I look at the next 20 years of my career and 20 years of my business, where's the growth area? Gold or Bitcoin, gold or crypto? Crypto's the easy answer.
Yes, it is. Now, you said you've shifted, and that word kind of sounds like Peter Schiff. And people know you, at least in my little space here. You were the dude who debated Peter Schiff on CNBC in the Bitcoin debate. And it was pretty fun. It was pretty legendary. It was pretty loud. What do you think of that? What do you think about Peter Schiff? What do you think about being stubborn like he is?
Listen, I mean, in terms of being, first of all, Peter's a very intelligent person. He is a very well-researched investor. So I certainly respect what he's done. You know, he has 5,000 years of history on his side with gold. That for the last 5,000 years, it has served as some kind of store of value. That's hard to overcome, and I understand where he's coming from because I was there as well. I just tend to be, I think that to me, the most important thing in investing is being able to adapt. I don't know what the future is going to be, but I know that if I can adapt and I can listen and pay attention, that's where my best ideas come from. So, you know, I love Peter. I think he's great. I just think he's wrong on Bitcoin.
Was that a fun debate to be part of? Was that a good time? Did you get a lot of good feedback?
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. Got a lot of good feedback. Doing that on TV is fun. You get fired up, and there's a lot of energy in there. It was good. It was really good.
Yeah, well, if you ever talk to Peter, get him to come on my show. I mean, everyone wants to hear Peter get onto a hardcore Bitcoin show, but he hasn't been on one yet. So hopefully one day
I will pass it along to him.
Awesome. Everyone, pound that like button if you want to hear Peter Schiff on this show. And if you love this Brian Kelly, he is full of energy. I'm loving it. So in terms of Bitcoin, you said you've been a trader before and everything. I am not a trader of Bitcoin. Let me tell you that. I am just a simple buy and hold guy. I think that's the best method, and that we're going to have a halving in the year 2020. Do you trade Bitcoin? Do you recommend people do it, or are you just a buy and hold guy too? What's your strategy?
No, I'm a trader. I'm an active trader. And what that means in this space is I'm moving around our core position in Bitcoin and the other currencies. Do I recommend it for other people? Here's my view on investing in general. It's this: there is no holy grail to investing. You need to match your investment style to your personality. And so if you're the type of person who doesn't want to be in front of a screen all day and doesn't may look at the price every once in a while, then that's fantastic, and you're going to make a heck of a lot more money by being a buy and hold. If you're somebody who likes to look at the screen and trade around, if that's your personality, then you should be a trader. That to me is where I've seen people make the most success and actually lose the most money. People that are buy and holders trying to be traders, and traders trying to be buy and holders, it just doesn't work.
Do you have a stash that you just keep, that you don't trade at all? Do you have like a hold stash somewhere, or are you willing to risk it all the time?
I don't really have a stash. I consider everything in our fund and in my personal holdings, which is almost exclusively in the fund. I consider that all to be actively candidates to be actively managed.
Okay, tell us about this fund a little bit, about your fund. I'm curious. I don't know much about it.
Okay, so it's the BKCM Digital Asset Fund. It's a hedge fund, an actively managed portfolio of, I'd say, probably the top 20 to 30 different digital currencies. I'm currency agnostic. I'm not a Bitcoin maximalist or Ethereum maximalist. As a fund manager, I try to be Switzerland. I try to be neutral on all, and whichever ones win and whichever ones the market picks, that's the one that I'm gonna ride along with. We are open to high net worth and institutional investors. And we started taking outside money in March and have been actively raising money all year. And it's been a great year to start a Bitcoin hedge fund.
Do you see more and more people putting together these type of hedge funds? And
there's a lot out there. I think I forget the number, but I had read somewhere it's 70 to 80 or something that are coming out. There's probably 10 or 15 of them that are suitable for institutional investors. The one thing I can tell you, and I've said this on CNBC and elsewhere, institutional investors are running towards this market. They're trying to figure out how to get into this market. And so, we can argue about whether Bitcoin's overvalued or other currencies are good or bad. What I do know is there is a wall of institutional money headed toward the cryptocurrency markets.
All right, everybody, you can quote, that's an awesome quote, a wall of institutional money heading our way here. That is, I'm bullish. I think that's a good thing, right? I'm going to tell you. So you're currency agnostic, you say, but let's hear, do you have a favorite altcoin? Is there an altcoin that jumps out at you? Is Ethereum your number two? Generally, that's what people say, but
in terms of the portfolio, the bigger coins tend to be bigger weightings because they're more liquid. That doesn't mean that we like one necessarily over the other, but it is a question of liquidity and how big of a position we can get into. But I'll give you a couple. Probably one of my single favorite ones right now is MetalPay. MTL is the symbol, Metal. And what I love about them is they've got a really great team. They've got great technology, and they're solving a real world problem. So if you don't know about them, what they're doing is they're creating a wallet and a financial ecosystem for the underserved community out there. So the high risk, and particularly, I think initially they're going to start with the cannabis industry. And so they have 140 merchants just waiting for them to launch this wallet and get ready to go. That's the type of investment I like. I can see it. I know they have customers already. They've got great tech, and they've got a team that's been in all of these spaces for a while now. So, that is why I would consider that one of my favorites.
Wow. I was not expecting that answer at all. That is, because on my show, usually we talk about Bitcoin and then the top tier altcoins. That's one that just came out of left field there. So
everybody listening knows what Ethereum is, all right? Everybody listening knows what all these other things are. Let's mix it up a bit and do something fun.
Well, that definitely makes it definitely. People do not expect you to say that. There are all sorts of people out there that love when they hear of something, they think they're getting a tip. they think that, oh, wait, I never heard of that one before. Now, I got to pile into that. So you just did those dudes a big favor. I got to tell you. So now remember, everybody, Adam Meister does not endorse the coins that are mentioned on this show. So I want to go back to trading for what you are. I mean, definitely a professional trader here. So, I mean, this stuff comes natural to you now. This is stuff you've been doing long before the cryptocurrencies even existed. I have heard that 90% of traders lose money. Is that what it is? I mean,
I think that's a good estimate. Yeah.
Explain to us how hard it is to be to be a real professional trader. Because if you're you said if you're like a buy and holder who pretends to be a trader, you're going to get crushed. And I think that needs to be reiterated there.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Listen, it's difficult. It's very difficult. It's not an easy job by any means. I'm wrong a lot. When I go into a position and when I figure out how I'm going to size the position, I assume I'm going to be wrong. And I assume that I'm going to be wrong 70% of the time. Typically, I'm only wrong 40% of the time. But if I go into a trade thinking that I'm going to be wrong and being able to get out of it quickly, then I'm in a much better position and I can manage my risk to reward. That's the biggest thing is managing your risk. I have seen some really great traders blow up because they don't have any type of risk management. And I've seen some really terrible traders make a ton of money because they have risk management and they stick to it. So if I had to say there's one thing out there that makes the difference between a good trader and or a losing trader and a winning trader, it is 100% about risk management, setting your exit points before you enter the trade and sticking with it.
I think that's risk management kind of goes hand in hand with not being impulsive and having a long-term plan. And that's a success. You're gonna have success in life if you can. People are very impulsive. People do not have long-term thinking. So most people aren't going to be good traders.
Listen, and get your ego out of it. If something goes against you, it goes against you. Nothing you can do about it. That's going to happen. It's not your fault. It's nobody's fault. You just move on and move to the next one. That's a real difficult thing to get over for a lot of people.
Now, remember, everyone, Adam Meister is not encouraging you to trade. I'm actually discouraging you guys from trading here. But hey, people love to hear about it because, again, this space is 93% male. They can't stand still. They got to do something with their Bitcoin. They got to do something. They're aggressive. Got to, the testosterone's rushing through them, so they got to trade. I don't know.
Well, and you know what? The one thing I would add to that, you said something interesting. They don't want to stand still. A big part of why people don't do well at trading is because they overtrade. And they say, everybody says, don't just stand there, do something, right? That's kind of what most people think. I would reverse that in trading. And most of the time I just keep telling myself, don't just do something, stand there. Trading really can be quite boring. It's kind of like fishing. You drive around the ocean for hours and then for 10 minutes it's exciting and you catch a fish. Don't overtrade. Just don't overtrade at all.
Yeah, there you go, guys. Good advice. All right. You said in the long run, if Bitcoin wins out, and if it doesn't win out, it doesn't matter. As long as, cryptocurrencies, I don't want to put words in your mouth there. What do you think about these Bitcoin forks that have been going on? And obviously the 2x and the Bcash were attempts to become the new Bitcoin, to take over the name. And then we also had this Bitcoin Gold one that is ongoing, which was a friendly fork. What do you think about all of this? And are you worried about 2x? I'm not.
So what do I think about it? I think I wish that we had a better system in Bitcoin to upgrade the software. It feels as though this recent fork and what's coming up with the fighting that has gone on, it feels to me as a suboptimal way to upgrade any type of software. So I'd rather we had a different way to do it. I don't know if we will get a different way to do it, and maybe that's exactly what Bitcoin should be. It's proving to be incredibly resistant to change. So maybe this is the best system that we have. In terms of what do I think about the future, I think these forks are fine. You have too many of them, and you have the potential of diluting the brand. I don't think you had the potential of necessarily diluting the supply in a sense. One coin will remain the king, whatever you want to call it. But I would be concerned if you have too many forks, the general public gets very confused about what it is.
For me, the general public doesn't even know about it yet, which is if we were in the point of when they already knew about it, I would be a little worried about that. But for me, I think I just call it a crypto dividend. I just say it's a reward for holding your Bitcoin. These forks, if they want to fork it, go ahead, give me some. I've been enjoying the extra coinage that has been sent my way. But it is good, interesting to see what your opinion is from the more traditional side. And speaking of where you're coming from here, what is the word on ICOs? What do you think about that? And what are the people on Wall Street and the national media world that you're exposed to? Do they know about this? Are they excited about ICOs? What's going on?
They know a heck of a lot about ICOs. They're very excited about them. I get probably 5 calls a day from people that I know that are not in the crypto space but are looking to raise money saying, how do I do this ICO thing? So ICOs are here to stay. I think we're probably going to go through a period. We are certainly in a period of tremendous frothiness. I get probably 10 pitches a day from people with, a 9-page white paper that I'm going to do all of these things, and I'd like to raise $25 million, please. That I think is crazy. That's the frothy part of this market. At some point, that'll have to be reconciled. But I think the idea of using blockchain digital currencies to take a company public earlier in its life cycle than it normally would is a very compelling prospect. And we've seen it just with the demand for these things. Every VC is getting into the space. So it's here to stay. I don't think the model as it is right now is the most optimal model, but we'll work it out. We'll figure it out. It's early days.
Now, obviously, these ICOs have helped Ethereum a lot. Do you have any thoughts on Ethereum? Since you do know a lot about these ICOs, I mean,
I love Ethereum. I love Ethereum. I think that the ICOs are one thing that certainly drove the price up. I was actually on CNBC yesterday with Joe Lubin from Consensus. I think probably the biggest thing to me that I like about Ethereum is that Joe Lubin's got 400 people around the world building stuff on top of it. And I don't know what's going to be built on top of it, but I know you put 400 people in a room and start building stuff, the next Facebook, the next Amazon, and the next Google is going to come out of that room.
I see where you're coming from here. You like when things are actually being used and when they have a purpose. That other coin that you mentioned before, the metal.
Yep.
What was the name of that one again?
Metal Pay. And that's an Ethereum token. That's an ERC20 token.
Okay, there we go. We're coming full circle here. All right, so that makes sense then. In your travels, so Bitcoin is mentioned the most, obviously. What is the second most asked about coin that you get?
Ethereum, without a doubt. Okay. Without a doubt. And that's changed a lot. 6 months ago, I would tell people, I run this hedge fund and we're invested in Bitcoin and other digital currencies. And, most of the general public would say, wait, there's more than one Bitcoin? I didn't understand that. That conversation has changed to, all right, I get Bitcoin. What do you think about Ethereum? And that's probably about, that's the biggest question I get now. Ultimately, that'll filter down to some of these other coins. It hasn't happened yet, but it will.
Yeah, that's the answer I generally get, and that's what I expect. Do people ask you about any other ones though? Any others, or is that just it? There's a top two, and no one.
I mean, in general, it's really Bitcoin and Ethereum. If you get somebody who's a little more versed in it, they'll ask me about Litecoin. More often, it's go down the list of what Coinbase is.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. I mean, they are, like them or hate them, they put it out there what the top is right
without
now.
question. I mean, without question, whatever they list are going to be the top coins, at least for the time being, because that's where all the money's coming in. That's the new money.
Yeah, they set the tone to say the least. All right, let's. Can you say the allocation of your fund, the different what percentage is you have in each is in each currency in the fund, or?
Yeah, I mean, I'm happy to share roughly what it is, but I'll just tell you it changes a lot.
Okay, that's what.
But to give you an example, right now we're probably about 10% Bitcoin. We're probably about 15 to 20% Ethereum. We are probably about 5 or 10% in Ripple. Let's see what else we've got in there of the bigger names. We're probably about 10% in Litecoin. We have a decent position in Bitcoin Cash. I think that could be a really nice hedge if something goes wrong with the Bitcoin fork in November.
Yep.
So we're using that as the hedge for that.
Yeah.
So that'll give you a general idea.
That you know what, that makes sense. I'm not a fan of Bcash at all, but I have been saying that if this 2x, there's going to be turbulence with the 2x fork, and I think there's going to be a pump of Bcash because of it. They're going to say, oh, you don't have to worry about the people claiming to be us and replay protection and all that. We've got it taken care of.
Right.
I can see that. But so that's good. You got a hedge. Now you mentioned Ripple as your number. Now I am not a fan of Ripple at all. I mean, I hardly consider it a cryptocurrency, and it's people always say, hey, it's involved with the banks. It's that's a good thing. So what are your thoughts on Ripple? Why are you a fan of it?
Well, so there's two reasons. One, just like the other coins that I mentioned, it's being used. There's a use case for it. And so I can understand why that, to me, I like something. I'm trying to invest in companies and coins that have a use case today. I generally don't want to invest in promises because I don't know what's going to happen. But I know that they have a technology that people want. So if there's demand for a technology, I want to be involved in that. I get the argument that it's involved with the banks. I get the argument that it's centralized. I understand all that. But as an investor, I look at it and say, okay, well, the Ripple Corporation owns 60 billion of these things. That's a company right there that is going to be doing everything they can to make that 60 billion worth of Ripple valuable. So I want to be on the same side as them. So why wouldn't I want to buy Ripple? I know there's a couple hundred people at the Ripple Corporation saying, how do we get the price of Ripple up? Because that's going to affect our bottom line. So I'm just going to ride along with that.
There's an answer, a totally honest answer there. And hey, man, I definitely appreciate that. Hey, over in the super chat, thank you, Boris. If anybody else has got a question, send it via super chat. I can ask it. We only got a few more minutes here, though. Brian, let me ask you about a little bit about the Forbes article. You talk about blockchain versus Bitcoin a little bit. Well, what do you hear the word blockchain just thrown all around? And I said to you off air, I guess, that I think a lot of the times people just say the word blockchain to make it themselves seem smart, like they're in and they're scared to use Bitcoin. They think it's dirty. They associate it almost with some bad things. So what do you think about the blockchain versus Bitcoin debate?
Yeah, I think, listen, I at one point was one of those people. I think that's what I was trying to convey in that article is that, listen, you say Bitcoin and people's first reaction is, isn't that the currency of criminals and drug dealers? You say blockchain and everybody goes, ooh, that's really fascinating. And they don't understand that they're one and the same. So what I was trying to accomplish with that article was not necessarily to say that it be a Bitcoin maximalist. I was just trying to explain why a token is important for blockchain. The token becomes the incentive. The token, without the token, then you're really just looking at a really fancy and probably inefficient database. With the token, you now have an entirely new system. So to me, the token is what's revolutionary, coupled with blockchain. That's the revolutionary part. We haven't seen that type of economic system before.
I agreed. Well, we're hitting the end of the show here. I really thank you for your time. Just a unique guest, a unique perspective on this. I learned a lot. I thought, hey, this guy's probably a Bitcoin maximalist, but hey, you're in it to do what's best to get the best return. You are a true trading guy. So, hey, you put it all out there. We don't hear that much from your side of the road on this show and other shows. And I just, hey, keep on doing what you're doing on CNBC when you're on there. Just spread the good word about Bitcoin to all the corporate types. Get them in here. Get them into this wild and wacky world. Do you have any concluding thoughts you want to say to the masses out there, the young guys, the newbies, the ones who think they know more than you? Give it away now.
Listen, probably there's plenty of people that know more than me. So to address them would be to address a huge group. I really enjoyed the show. Thank you for having me on. I am out there. I have, for better or worse, become kind of the public figurehead at least on CNBC of this new technology. Don't give up. It's coming. It's going to be a rocky road, but keep building what you guys are all building out there. Because this is going to be game changing. This is going to be world changing. So don't give up.
So yeah, we learned today the hedge fund guys are coming, correct? They are coming.
Correct.
Oh, wow. That's a big, if you take away one thing from that, guys, that one line he had earlier, that was big stuff. So, hey, someone cut that out of this video, put it in a separate video, spread it all over. Well, thank you, Brian Kelly, for being on the show today. All of his links are below. Do check out the link section below. Pound that like button, everyone. I'm Adam Meister, the Bitcoin Meister, Disrupt Meister. Remember to subscribe to this channel, like this video, share this video. You can find me at disruptmeister.com. I do a new show here every day. Bye-bye, everyone. Thanks a lot. See you later. See ya.